Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. In this session, we will proceed with the discussion about the hiring decision of a firm in a short run. A quick recap of the previous discussion. We have established some understanding related to two important concepts as shown in these curves: the value of marginal product of worker and the value of average product of worker. We use this formula when we want to derive the value of marginal product of worker, and this is the formula that we use to calculate the value of average product of worker. From that two concepts, the next thing we want to discuss is to answer the following question: how many workers our firm should hire in order to achieve the profit maximizing output level? Remember that our firm is a profit maximizing firm operating in a competitive product market and also a competitive labor market. Since we assume that our firm is a competitive firm in a labor market, this firm therefore can hire workers at a constant wage rate. Because our firm is a wage taker, we are competing with other firms for huge number of workers in the labor market. Our demand for workers alone as a firm cannot influence the wage rate of worker in the labor market. So let's say we are a wage taker, and let's assume that the wage rate in the market is $22 per hour. So this is the current wage rate in the economy. Given this wage rate, how many workers we should hire? The basic rule that we will use in guiding our firm to hire or to lay off workers is stated here, where a profit maximizing firm hires workers up to the point where the wage rate equals the value of marginal product of worker or labor. Therefore, if the wage rate is $22 as indicated here, the wage rate will be equal to the value of marginal product of worker at this point. And given $22 the current wage rate, we should hire 8 workers in order to maximize profit. So this is one important rule that we derive in this analysis. So what we have established given this principle or rule is that we would hire workers guided by the following rule, which equal to value of marginal product of worker. Why so? So let's understand the basis of this hiring rule. Given the wage rate $22, why can't the firm stop hiring at 4 workers over here? Why can't we just hire 4 workers given the wage rate $22? This is not an optimal decision for the firm. The reason is that at 4 workers, we find that the value of marginal product of worker is more than the wage rate. Or if we rewrite the rule, this is where our value of marginal product of worker is more than the wage rate. What it tells us is that hiring the 4th unit of worker actually brings more revenue than the cost of hiring that 4th unit of worker, because the cost of hiring each unit of worker is given by the wage rate. Wage rate is now $22. Over here we find that the additional revenue brought by the 4th unit of worker is more than the cost of hiring that additional unit of worker. In that case, the firm should therefore keep hiring up until the wage rate is equal to the value of marginal product of worker. That's the rationale of the rule. Now, what if our firm hires more than 8 workers? Let's say 9 workers. Over here, let's say 9 workers. And it is given by the following dash line. So what happened here? This is where at 9 unit of worker, the wage rate or the cost of hiring this additional worker, the ninth worker, is more than the value of marginal product of that worker. We can rewrite that where W, wage rate, now is more than the value of marginal product of worker. So what happened in this case is the cost of hiring this additional unit of worker exceeds the revenue brought by this worker. So we should not go beyond 8 number of workers. Hiring up until 8 workers is the optimal number of employment the firm should consider, given the wage rate $22. I hope that's clear. Now, what if there is an increase in the wage rate? Now, let's say the wage rate has gone up to $38. In that case, we find that hiring 4 workers is optimal to our firm. However, one problem in this case is that since the wage rate is so high, $38, notice that it exceeds the value of the average products of labor. The per worker contribution to the firm is less than the wage. The firm loses money and leaves the market. Therefore, if the wage rate is too high, that means at this point we find that the wage rate is more than the value of average product of worker. Our firm actually is making loss here. We are not actually hiring this worker because the firm may leave the market. So now let's go back to the wage rate equal to $22. And we have made the analysis earlier that the optimal number of worker for the firm to hire is up until 8 workers. What about this point where will the firm stop hiring up until 1 worker? That's not the case because as the firm keeps hiring more workers from this point onward, notice that the value of marginal product keeps increasing. In other words, hiring more workers from 1 and more, the additional revenue by the additional number of worker is more than the cost of hiring the worker given by the wage rate. So logically, the firm will keep hiring the workers. The firm will not stop because this is the segment where the value of marginal product is rising. Another important thing we learn over here is that a profit maximizing firm will hire according to the rule where wage rate equals the value of marginal product of worker, and the value of marginal product should be in the declining segment. I think that's the discussion for now. See you next time. Wassalam.